Hello, this is Coffee with Ronnie. I should have some intro music, don't you think? Little animation, something like that. Just can't. I have actual coffee right now, which is actually, I just microwaved it, kind of cold, so it's not particularly good. But anyway, I went out to breakfast and coffee this morning with some local ladies and had a marvelous time, so I'm a little extra caffeinated. So yeah, this is one of those this and that episodes today. Last week we talked about Girl Scouts and how it was sort of life-changing for me, even though I wasn't a Girl Scout for all that long, 4 years maybe. I'm caffeinated, which is a good state to be in until you don't want to be in it anymore. All is good here. We're actually, BJ can attest to this, we're having a chilly day here in Florida. It's like 67 degrees, so I'm like wearing long sleeve sweater. Yes it is. I even wore a scarf this morning, which we don't get to wear cute scarves very often down here. So we're here, it's Thursday, and this is a this and that episode, but it's mostly a that episode. As I was working through what I wanted to talk about, 1/3 of this got a little bigger than I anticipated. It could have been all of its own, but I already told you it was this and that, so there you go. Okay, so let's get started on today's Coffee with Ronnie. First of all, on the this and that episode, last Saturday, well, a couple of weeks prior to last Saturday, I was invited by a friend of mine who's a painter locally to do a pop-up little art show at a coffee shop here in Cape Coral, Florida. Okay, so I was like, sure, let's do that. And then, of course, I had to jump into, I have to touch every one of those paintings and see what status they are, which ones I should bring, which ones shouldn't I bring. They needed to be some needed to be matted and put in sleeves and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized I hadn't inventoried anything, so I had to inventory everything. I had to price everything. I had to name everything. I had to get it all organized and figure out what I was bringing and how I was going to display it. So this easy, like, hey, you want to do a little pop-up thing, turned into like a time and energy and a suck, basically, because I had to really focus on that. Which brought me to the conclusion that deadlines are really good, because all of those things that I just described that I needed to do in order to just show up for this 4-hour event required me to do a whole bunch of work. And the beautiful thing is it's not work that goes bad. It doesn't wear out. There's nothing wrong with what I did. I did a spreadsheet, and now I know all my sizes and what I've got in inventory and what needs help, what is ready to go, and what got sold. Yay, because I sold some stuff. So, sometimes those deadlines that you do not expect are really good for you because it forces you to kind of get it all together and get things done that have just been hanging out there going, yeah, when I have time, I'll do that. But putting a date on the calendar with, other people really gets you to get things done. So that was really great. And the great thing is, I did it. And it was fine. And now I'm very enthusiastic about how does this fit into my life? What does this look like? How can I manage this with the other things that I'm doing? So that was really good. The other thing that was really good was an artist that many of you know, Stephanie Peterson, who's an amazing illustrator. We had connected, we've known each other for a while, and she mentioned that she was going to be in my neck of the woods, and was that anywhere close to where I was, and could we get together? So we had a fabulous breakfast earlier this week. You know how that is when you see, I posted about this on my Instagram account, that if you have an opportunity, if someone is anywhere in your general vicinity, get together with them, because face-to-face meetings, sitting down with someone, even though we love these connection points online, on social media, even on phone call, are fantastic. But face-to-face, human beings sitting at a table eating and drinking coffee, there is nothing like that. So even though our first inclination, because I think most artists are kind of homebodies, like, well, no, I need to work, or self-employed people are like, oh, no, I need to work. That's not really a good use of my time, the travel time and blah, 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 all that other stuff. If you have that opportunity, take that opportunity. It is so rejuvenating. And so, I mean, we sat down at the table. It was like we could barely look at the menus because we're like, oh, hey. And so it was really stimulating for, I hope, both of us. And it was really a fantastic morning. And so I encourage you to do that. And the offshoot of that, of having, and I know there's a couple groups of artists that do get together, either for sketch days or just for regular meetings. If you have anybody in your area that you can have any human contact with, then you need to do that. I know for a fact that probably Jen and Norma probably not, because probably not. There isn't anyone nearby. But when those opportunities present themselves, or if you can be the catalyst to make those things happen, you should do that. Now, it leads me to another this and or that, which is I have a couple of people in my life who I like to refer to as we are each other's advisory boards, that when you are having maybe this week's existential crisis, that they are the people that you text, they're the people that you reach out to, they're the people that you Skype with to sort of sort things out with each other. So having an advisory board, and those people could be across the world, they could be across the street, but having an advisory board, and I am their advisory board too. It's not just like I'm like, hey kids, you need to help me. We're all helping each other, and I am available to them. They're available to me, and it is something that can be cultivated and celebrated and enjoyed. But having an advisory board is critical to our mental health, our business development. It's just part of what we need to sustain ourselves through times that are tough, times that are great, where we can share our skill set with them. We can give them a different perspective. We can get a perspective from them, and all of that adds to they're like the jewels they're just the sparkly moments of what happens in this business. And so if you have an advisory board, embrace them, love them, give back as much as you can. And if you don't, that's another thing that we should all be cultivating. And it doesn't always have to be super public on Facebook. I mean, Facebook is marvelous. Again, I know you're listening, but that I have an issue, I need another perspective. That's what we need on our advisory board. So I highly encourage that. Not had an artist date in over a year. It was great fun last time. And Annie, oh yeah, if you can do it, no one is less than 4 hours away. Well, Norma, could you send the private jet? Because I'll come. Just send the jet. How hard could that be? So, yeah, 4 hours is a bit of a slog. Even meeting one of the people on my advisory board lives about 2.5 hours, depending on traffic, from me, and so we meet halfway. But 4 hours, even 2 hours to go have a cup of coffee, that's a little long. Although I have found that I really like driving. I don't know about you guys. Tell me if driving is when you're driving alone over distance, not just heading to Target or something, do you get ideas? Because man, I'll tell you, driving is my thing. Like particularly, I think I mentioned last week that I had I did a presentation. It was like a 40 minute presentation that I had to do. And when I was going to meet one of my advisory board members, I had about a 45-minute drive, and I did my speech like in the car on the way there and on the way back. And I just envisioned my slides. I was like, okay, I know what the next slide is. And so driving to me is a great place to talk out loud by yourself, or to get the ideas start flowing. And that is a wonderful thing. So does anybody else find that when they're driving? I know the shower is a classic place to find ideas, but I find driving to be that. Let's see. I know BJ and I have decided that we can never meet in Florida because she's on one coast, I'm on the other, and in between is like a nightmare. So there is no way that BJ and I, we have to like go to another state in order to see each other, because it's just crazy. We all stay on the edges of Florida because in between it's insane. Norma says, I just drove 4 hours to Portland to meet with a group of children's book illustrators, though. Well, that's good. I hope you were able to like spend the night or something. But sometimes, it is worth it sometimes, but it's hard to manage the day to day when you go, oh, well, I have to drive 4 hours to go see someone. Kim says, driving is awesome. Ideas, enter podcast or audiobooks. Yeah. I like silence, although sometimes I just like to sing. Someday, remind me to tell you the story of me singing in the car. It's a good one. Washing the dishes, Annie says, goes into ideas mode. Yeah, I can see that. Amaryllis, I talk into my phone while I drive because that's when I am a genius. Oh, totally, Amaryllis. Oh, so am I. I'm like on a TED stage by the time I get to my destination. So yeah, I'm pretty much a genius as well. Cool. And sometimes I accept my award while I'm in the car. So, but I was also, when I was a little kid, in the bathtub, I would do like soap ads, like this will make your skin so soft. So yeah, that's funny. Cool. I love that. Okay. So speaking of existential crises, as we were, I have them every once in a while, and I'm sure all of you do as well too. The whole, what should I be doing? Is this the right thing? Is this the one that's going to make me money? Should I be spending more time over there? Is that going to be more lucrative? It's this whole mush of figuring it out. And it was interesting when Stephanie and I were talking. I'm going to paraphrase her, and I'm sure she won't mind because it's kind of brilliant. We were talking about this issue, and she said, well, maybe that's the way it's supposed to be as artists, that we are always curious and changing and figuring it out. So maybe that is sort of our normal state, and we have to accept that, which actually gave me a lot of peace. It gave me a lot of peace of mind that this is a common thread through what we do. Is this what I should be doing? Should I be heading down that road or that one? That's sort of normal. But I have been sort of searching for, is there some mathematical, scientific way to sort of quantify the directions that we are going in a way that can help us sort of pinpoint that? And I go into that in my, I don't know if you guys have taken my Skillshare class called, I think it's called, I should have known that before I came on here. But it's called idea evaluation, is basically what I'm talking about, is five questions to ask to see if the idea that you have kind of has legs and you should follow that thread. And I'm going to share that later. I know we talked about it once on Coffee with Ronnie, but anyway, I had this thought the other day that I remember reading. It was some business book about how a guy had developed sort of an evaluation process for which direction you should go business-wise. And I was racking my brain to find the source of that original idea. And my poor husband on so many levels. But I'm like, it's 10:30 and I'm pawing through books going, which one was it? Do you remember that? Do you remember me telling you that? Remember how brilliant it was? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I don't. It could have been that one. And then he reminded me where some other books were in the house. So I went and looked at those. I cannot find the source of this material, but I'm paraphrasing it just based on memory and then kind of cobbled it together with some other thoughts that I had to help us evaluate these directions that we are going. Okay, hang on. Funny story, BJ says. I was yakking away to myself while I was driving one day and suddenly heard someone saying hello and realized somehow I had butt dialed someone. That is funny. How much they heard of my yakking, I don't know. Thank you, BJ. There's a Skillshare class, idea investigations, 5 questions to ask yourself. And because you are friends of Coffee with Ronnie, I'm going to give you the 5 questions, although you should take the class if you're on Skillshare, because it's a really good little class. I mean, it's like a quick one. It's one of my favorites. It's not like super sexy, but it's like a really good class. So anyway, I would advise you to take that. Anyway, because I'm part of your advisory board. So, okay, so here is the thing. I'm going through my index cards. Okay, so here is basically how this works. Now, I did not come up with this whole idea, but I've sort of made it into something that we can use. And if I find the source, or if this looks familiar to any of you, please let me know, because I like to give people credit when I can. I just couldn't in this time frame. So anyway, and I am going to put this, there's a PDF that I will post in the comments when I'm done here, because I can't multitask. Plus, I don't want you going to get the PDF while I'm talking, because then you'll be distracted. Okay, so here's the whole idea. The idea is that most of us have different pillars, if you will, of income streams. We teach. We might coach, like me, for instance. Or we, develop designs for licensing or editorial, or we sell our designs, we license them. There's some sort of pathway of our illustrations moving into the world in some way. We might have an Etsy shop that we do POD or downloads or something like that. So we have these different ways of making money. And occasionally, for me, or I want to add something new, and then I sit there and go, okay, I only have so many hours in a day, a week, a month. How can I carve this in? And is this going to be a thing that's really going to make money, or is it just going to distract me from other things that are making money? And I always have to pause and think about that. And sometimes it is unanswerable until you have this matrix. So basically, this is how this is going to work. I'm calling it the design making matrix. So what you're going to do is you're going to get this sheet, and on the top are the different methods of how you make money, and you'll just fill that in. Sell on Etsy, art fairs, whatever your processes are to make money. And then on the left, on this side, there are different criteria under which you will look and see how that balances out per line. Now, I would suggest, say you just like pick one and go all the way through the line. And what you're going to do is grade that process, whichever the thing is, like selling POD on Etsy, from 1 to 10 based on these criteria. And these are the criteria that you're going to do, and it will be on the PDF. The current income that this brings in. And it, whether that's a 1, like, not much, or somewhere around a 7 or 8, where you're comfortable with what that is bringing in, grade that between 1 and 10. So current income, potential income, if you spent more time with it, if you built it, if you exploited it further than what you are doing at this time. The potential income, grade the potential income between 1 and 10. Now, before I go any further, these are not to be like, oh, I need to go through my books and figure this out and blah, 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 and do a big, business plan. This is your gut. This is a judgment call. This is not high science and high finance here. So you're going to evaluate it on the potential income, just based on what you know at this time. Because this is like a quick snapshot. This is a way to go, got it. Okay, the third thing, the effort it would take to make it profitable. Either more profitable than it is, or if it's totally in the idea stage, what is the effort it would take for you to make this profitable? And in my idea investigation, I'm using some similar questions, but I'll explain the difference between this thing and that thing. But so the effort to make it profitable. Do you have to go back to school? Do you have to learn a new process? Do you have to hire someone? What is the effort it's going to take? 1 to 10. Some of them are going to be nothing. I got it. And some are going to be like, that's about an 8 for me. And so you're going to do that. Okay. Your excitement level. What is your excitement level of this project? Do you love it? Does it feel like pulling teeth? Is it horrible? Is it like, yeah, it's not bad, okay, you know? Where is that on that scale of 1 to 10? The alignment with your values. You know, maybe robbing banks is an option for you because there's the fastest way between you and cash, but it doesn't really align with your values. So you want to find out where that lands in the whole scheme of things. And then the final one is the alignment of your talents and abilities. Sometimes we have ideas that are fantastic for someone else with a different skill set or a vision or a look. So those are going to be your criteria. And what you do is you go through each one of these things. Okay, selling downloads, and then you add those numbers. So you're going to be putting 1 to 10 through for each one of these methods that you make money. And then you will have a score. You will add up your numbers from each of those things. And it will be revealed to you what's your score on each one of those things. Now, I did this. And my scores, I had 4 different things. My scores ranged from, I got a 35 on my lowest thing to a 46 on my highest thing. Now, that's not a huge spread, but sometimes they will be a huge spread. And so it was obvious to me if I could only do 3 of my 4 things, which would probably be the fourth thing would be the thing that would go away. Or if the top thing was really the top, I would put more efforts into that. So there is sort of, it's quasi-scientific, it's quasi-data-based that you could figure these things out based on sort of the emotional connection or the emotional component to it and the idea that you could build it or not build it based on that. So I'm going to have that in the... I'll have this in the comments as soon as I'm off here so you can download that and start to look at that. And I'm very curious. You don't have to tell me details, but I would love to know if that revealed anything to you. If you went, crystal clear, so that there is some way that you don't have to always be questioning what is the thing that you should be doing. Now, this isn't the be all and end all. And it's not foolproof because it is sort of a judgment call, but you know yourself best. You know your talents. You know what it would take to make something profitable. So I would encourage you to do this, particularly when you're in that quandary of, is this the right thing for me to do? And I had made some notes, like I have a lot of files, and I had, there was a thing about planning, and I did find some notes that I had taken when I first read this. Of course, I didn't write down the book, but I had different answers then than I did now. So it's one of those things that you should probably check in with yourself every once in a while, or particularly if you have said, I want to concentrate more efforts on this thing and do that for a period of time, say 3 months, and then reevaluate that and see if there's any wobbly points. The other thing that this particular decision-making matrix can tell you is where you are weak, where you need help in any of these things where you're like, I think the alignment of values, we can pretty much know just instantly whether it aligns with your values, like, robbing banks, probably not. But hey, I'm not the judge and jury of that. So anyway, the idea investigation, and here's how this differs from this. So say you've done this with the things that you are currently doing, or there may be one thing on here that you are wanting to do or have started down the road but haven't made much traction on. It's a good thing to sort of look at that. Now, with the idea investigation, it's similar, but you will take one idea. So you take this one thing, like digital downloads on Etsy, whatever they're going to be. And you will ask specifically for that, you would ask these 5 questions, and this is more of an essay test. And some of them are similar. It's interesting that they cross over, but this is way specific on one idea that you are pondering or in the middle of. Sometimes it's a good checkpoint to do this idea investigation to say, well, if I was starting over today, would I do this idea? Maybe not. But anyway, these are good questions. So you will get this as well. We'll have a link to that PDF. I say we as if there's a staff back here doing it, but it's just me. It's the royal we. So if you have an idea of a path that you want to take, your first question is, again, does this align with my value? Pretty much yes or no. Second is, does this align with my current customer base? Do I have to go out and find a whole new customer base in order to make this profitable? And I'm telling you, that's a quandary with these paintings. See all those paintings stacked up back there? That's getting all organized. I don't have collectors sitting around waiting. Yes, I sold paintings, but that was sort of the first thing. So that is a big, huge question. Does it align with my current customer base? There may be some crossover. I may get support from the people that I already know in this art world, but I don't necessarily know like interior designers or home builders or something that would be more aligned with my customer. Anyway, that's just me. And depending on your answers, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It's just to really build awareness of where these holes are that you might have to fill. Okay, the third question in the 5 questions. Does this idea, the thought of this idea, make my eye twitch? Because we've all had ideas that you go, I don't think I can do that. No, cool idea for somebody, not me. And the fourth question, which is a really good one, what do I have to give up to pursue this idea? Because we only have X amount of hours, we have other obligations, we have other ways that we're making money. It might be a part-time job, it might be a full-time job, it might be children, it might be old parents, it might be a lot of things, but every time you add something else has to go away. And, if you have to give up, a couple hours of TV every day, hey, that's a good trade-off. So you have to remember that everything you add, something has to be subtracted. So what would you have to give up to pursue the idea? And the final, again, dovetails with the other matrix, which is how much time would the learning curve, launch cycle take to move this forward? And that's a very specific question. If it requires you to go back to school or to take some training, there's a timeline of how long those things take. Or you put yourself on a schedule to learn the skills that you need to do, but you need to have that into the idea evaluation in the very beginning. A friend of mine told me about an idea he had, and I was like, can I give you this sheet? Because I could just see immediately where, it was a cool idea, but I kind of, knowing him as well as I knew, it was like, okay, there are some serious holes here of how you can pursue this thing. Not impossible, but recognizing those things earlier is way better than later. So after, like I said, once I'm not live, or if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have the links to those PDFs and you can do this. And I would love to know if this is helpful for you and if it's given you any insight into things that you can either enthusiastically move forward with or kick to the curb, which is just as valuable. Because then it gives you time for the things that you are enthusiastic about. I'm going to check comments. Amaryllis, I want to do this again. I did a list on a spreadsheet, years ago, but figured time versus money versus enjoyment. I cut craft shoes and fine art. You're not going to make handmade shoes? Really? Okay. I'm just going to order some, whenever, because I want to look like a hobbit. Fine art. And here's the thing, Amaryllis. There is time for those later. I know you, and I know you have young children. Sometimes those things get to be put on the shelf for future and not right now. But acknowledging that is like super cool to know that this is still available to me because certainly in the time of life that you are, something's got to go away to put that in. So yay. I would love to hear your feedback on that. Jen, can't wait to dive into this. That's why I didn't post the PDFs, because I knew you'd just jump into this. No, Amaryllis, it's not no forever. It's no for now. But that's okay. That's okay. It will be time there will be time again. So you guys, I know you're chomping at the bit to get these PDFs, so I'm going to call it a coffee with Ronnie. I would drink my coffee, but it's cold, so I'll just pretend. That's delicious. And so thank you for being here. Thank you. I so appreciate it. Every week I'm always like, hey, there's people here. It's super cool. And I totally dig that, and it's awesome. So if you have any comments or observations, if you want to get back to me about whether this worked for you or not, I may do a little nudge through the week and see how that's going for you. And please, I'd love to know if this works, because it's super unscientific, but I think it's a way to really look at things in sort of a non-objective kind of way. Try not to do it with a lot of emotion. Like go, this is a math problem, not an art or a personality problem. This is a math problem, and let's look at it with like more constructive, objective view to this thing. Okay? All right. I will talk to y'all soon. And again, I'm all poised to get these PDFs up for you. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Bye.